Okay, hello everyone. Ang topic natin ngayon tungkol sa child development. Pero itong lecture na to, ipopwesto ko pa rin under ng human development kasi alam naman natin na ang child development under pa rin yan ng developmental psychology. So ang pinaka-topic natin ngayon about child development is peers and relationships. This lecture is inspired by this article. I highly recommend i-Google Scholar nyo, download nyo, and then basahin nyo for you to better understand the social lives of children, which is yun ang focus ng topic natin ngayon, social life ng mga bata. But before we dig deeper into this article, simulan natin sa basic principle number 1 that we human beings are social beings. Siyempre kasama na dyan yung mga bata. But what does it mean when you say that we are social beings? Ibig sabihin nun, our lives are interconnected with the lives of other people. Sa life course theory, ito yung tinatawag nating linked lives. Ang nangyayari sa buhay ng isang tao, may epekto or may impluensya sa buhay ng ibang tao. Nag-create yan ng ripple effect. A simple example of this would be, let's say may anak na nakagraduate from a university. Tapos yung anak na yon, siya yung unang anak na nakagraduate from that university. Yung pag-graduate niya, ang sinasabi ng linked lives is, may epekto yung pag-graduate niya sa buhay ng mga tao sa paligid niya. So yung pag-graduate niya, may epekto yan sa parents niya, may epekto yan sa mga kapatid niya, sa pinsan niya, and sa society in general. Bakit ganun ang buhay ng tao? Why do you think our life is interconnected with each other? Ganun talaga ang disenyo ng buhay according to God's design. Genesis pa lang, sinabi na yan, it is not good for the man to be alone. I will make a helper suitable for him. So God designed our life, God designed human beings to be connected with other human beings. Isa yan sa mga necessity, pangangailangan nating bilang mga social beings, kailangan natin kumonek sa ibang tao. And in the process of being like that, nagiging linked yung lives natin. What are some supports that we are meant to connect with other people? Marami, especially in the field of psychology, self-determination theory, sa positive psychology. So hindi ko i-discuss dito yung self-determination theory, but according to that theory, may isang psychological ingredient, ang tawag relatedness. Kailangan natin yan para gumanda ang mental health natin. And what is relatedness? Ito yung overall quality ng connection mo sa ibang tao. Kapag gusto ka ng maraming tao, mahal ka ng maraming tao, tinatanggap ka ng maraming tao, okay yung relationship mo sa mama mo, sa papa mo, warm yung relationship mo with your classmates, okay ka sa teacher mo, tumataas ang relatedness, gumaganda ang well-being. Bakit gumaganda ang psyche kapag okay ang relatedness? Kasi nga, social beings tayo. We are meant to receive and give social needs coming from other people. Huwag din natin kakalimutan si Abraham Maslow sa hierarchy of needs niya. From the term needs, pangangailangan. Isa sa mga pangangailangan natin according to Maslow, love and belongingness. Kailangan nating maramdaman that we are loved by people around us. Parents natin, mga kaibigan natin, and clinical psychology would agree. Ang mga tao na mababa ang love and belongingness, isama na rin natin yung self-determination theory, mababa ang relatedness, most likely, nagde-develop ng a number of psychological disorders, lalong-lalo na, ang pinaka-common, depression. Nakaka-depress kung lahat ng relationships mo, wasak. Nakaka-depress kung lahat ng tao sa paligid mo, nire-reject ka, or hindi ka mahal. Again, why are we like that? Because we are created by God as social beings. Principle number 2, before we dig deeper into the article, yung mga experiences natin in social relationships, which is again expected, kasi nga social beings tayo, no? Yung mga experiences natin sa mga relationships natin, specifically sa mga bata, no? Specifically yung mga bata, may epekto yan sa quality ng development nila. So kung ano man yung na-experience ng isang bata sa social relationships niya, meron palang psychological effect yon sa kanyang development. So kapag ang bata, maganda ang social relationships, very warm, very positive, marami mga bata gusto siyang kalaro, marami mga matatanda gusto siyang kausap, may epekto yon sa child development ng bata. And vice versa, kapag negative yung social experiences niya, lagi siyang binubuli sa eskwelahan, lagi siyang nire-reject ng mga teachers niya, yung mga adult sa bahay, nineneglect lang siya, may epekto na naman yan na hindi maganda sa development niya. Okay, so let me repeat, kung ano man yung social experiences ng bata sa buhay niya, meron niyang immediate effect in his or her development. And why is it important to study this topic? Yung relationship ng bata sa ibang mga tao kasi meron pa lang yung long-term effect. Experiences in social relationships, as you can see in the diagram, will affect the child's quality of development. At yung kalidad ng pagdevelop ng bata na nangyayari as an immediate effect of the social relationships, meron pala yung effect long-term. In fact, marami tayong mga patterns of behaviors, emotions, thinking na meron tayo ngayon, you can trace it back to your early social experiences. Even the Bible agrees with that. Matindi daw ang imprinting ng mga bagay-bagay sa buhay ng tao, especially during childhood. Kaya sinabi ni Solomon yan, di ba? Train up a child in the way he should go, and when he is old, he will not depart from it. Bakit mahirap mag-depart? Bakit mahirap i-undo yung mga bagay na naranasan natin o natutunan natin during childhood? Matindi kasi yung imprinting. Sobrang lakas ng absorption natin ng mga bagay-bagay during childhood years. So, i-connect mo yan dito sa diagram na to, kaya napaka-crucial na dapat yung social experience ng isang bata generally positive. Kasi kung hindi, dyan nanggagaling yung mga negative patterns of the psyche that the child will develop later on kapag naging adult na siya. Like for example, sa sports, I'm sure marami sa inyo narinig itong nangyari na to sa NCAA. Now you're going to ask, bakit kaya ginawa yan ng player? Bakit siya nanapak ng mga players on the court out of his frustration? Now, in the eyes of developmental psychology, ginawa niya yan kasi meron niyang kinalaman sa naging childhood niya. Posibleng meron siyang mga social experiences, social relationships during his younger years na yun yung nakapag-shape kung bakit ganyan yung pattern niya every time na nafu-frustrate siya in a basketball game. Okay? Or another example, bakit merong mga tao sa marriage or sa relationship na nanakit sila? Sila yung gumagawa ng tinatawag na domestic violence. What explains that? In the eyes of developmental psychology, balik ulit tayo sa model, anong sagot? Yung nananakit na yan, etong lalaki na to, kaya siya ganyan kasi during his early years, meron siyang mga naranasang social experiences that shape him to be like that. Ganon katindi ang imprinting during childhood. Yung pattern mo ng adult, you can trace it back to social experiences in childhood. And in fact, going back to this example, ang dami nating evidences dito that this is the case. Na yung mga taong nananakit sa relationships, gumagawa ng domestic violence, usually, merong nangyari sa kanila in the past, specifically during their childhood years, that explain bakit sila ganon. And one of the reasons is bakit sila nananakit, kasi nung bata pa sila, yung mga ka-relationships nila, sinasaktan din sila. Parents, guardians, stepmom, stepdad, classmates, yung mga experiences na yon shape them to be the person that they are many years after they were children. Kaya ganun ka-critical, ganun kahalaga na pag-aralan yung social experiences during childhood. Okay? Now, let's go back to the model and let's dig deeper. So far, ito na yung na-establish nating relationship. Experiences in social relationships will affect the development of the child. Pero ang tanong, ano yung psychological variable na makakapagpaliwanag kung bakit ganon yung social experiences ng bata in the first place? Whether or not magiging positive or negative yung social relationships ng bata, saan nakasalalay yan? Anong psychological variable yung magde-determine yan? Yan yung sinasagot ng journal article. And so, we begin to zoom in kung ano yung mga big ideas na sinishare sa journal article na to. Okay, so some big ideas from the journal article, which again I highly recommend, download nyo, and then basahin ninyo. So number 1, we have to remember that children's social skills are very important. Social skills, ito yung kakayanan mo to deal with other people. Paano ka mag-handle ng galit ng iba, paano ka makipag-usap sa ibang tao, paano ka makipag-share ng properties o ng resources sa ibang tao, paano ka makipag-negotiate sa ibang tao, lahat yan social skills. Paano ka bumasa ng emotions ng ibang tao, anong tawag doon? Social skills. Now, the thing is, in psychology, yung social skills, super important pala yan in childhood because that will determine kung ano yung magiging peer status ng bata. At kung ano man yung peer status ng bata, meron yung epekto sa development niya. Now, yung peer status, pwedeng negative, pwedeng positive. Okay, so this is a new concept, lalong-lalo na yung mga nag-aaral ng DevPsych dyan. So, let's zoom in. Ano bang ibig sabihin ng peer status? If you want to read a journal article that is so foundational, talagang nag-zoom in sa peer status, basahin nyo yung article ni Asher and Heimel noong 1981. Ito yung isa sa mga pinakaunang articles that talk about the concept of peer status. So, in general, ang ibig sabihin lang ng peer status, gaano kagusto ng mga bata yung isang bata. Let's say si Nene o si Nonoy. So, the number of children na gusto, like, si Nene o si Nonoy, that will determine kung ano ang magiging peer status ni Nene or ni Nonoy. Okay? So, yun yung ibig sabihin ng peer status, no? In the language of child development, gaano karaming mga bata ang may gusto na kalaro o may gusto na kasama yung bata na pinag-uusapan natin, no? Whether that's Nene or si Nonoy. Now, let's dig deeper. According to peer status research, meron palang mga klase, categories of peer statuses that a child can have. So, kapag si Nene o any child, Nene man o si Nonoy man yan, magfo-fall siya sa any one of these 5 category of peer status. Pwede siyang popular, controversial, average, neglected, or rejected. I have an entire lecture on this, pero hindi yan yung focus ng lecture natin ngayon. So, sa ibang content natin gagawin yan. For the meantime, ang dapat nyo lang munang alam is, merong 5 klaseng peer status ang isang bata, at ang hindi magandang peer status dyan, out of the 5, 2. According to researchers, hindi nagiging maganda ang development ng bata kapag yung peer status niya is neglected or rejected. Neglected, ibig sabihin, ito yung mga bata na wala masyadong kaibigan. You know, they are being ignored. They are being isolated by the children in the school. Yung mga rejected naman, hindi naman sila ini-ignore. Pero, yung attention na binibigay sa kanila, negative. Marami mga bata, dislike sila. Kaya sila binubuli, kaya sila tinutukso, kaya sila laging hindi sinasama sa mga laro. All forms of rejection. That's what it means to be a rejected child. But then again, ano sinasabi natin? Regardless kung neglected man yung bata o rejected yung bata, hindi maganda yan sa development. In the language of clinical psychology, risk factors. Kapag yung bata is neglected or rejected. Kapag nagpatuloy sa buhay ang bata na neglected or rejected siya, marami mga psychological disorders ang pwedeng lumabas. Now, in connection to this, magbasa ako ng excerpt from the article in connection to numbers 4 and 5, neglected and rejected, for children with high co-occurring aggression trajectories. Aggression exacerbated their existing peer relational difficulties. Girls and boys in this group exhibited elevated levels of peer rejection, you've heard the word rejected, and lower levels of friendships, so neglected yan, in grade 4, that continues to worsen over time. So this excerpt answers the question, in the first place, bakit ba ang isang bata magiging neglected or rejected? Ang sagot ng article, ito. Kaya siya rejected, kaya siya neglected kasi hindi maganda yung social skill niya. To be more specific, anong profile ng bata na masasabi mong hindi maganda yung social skill niya, mataas yung level of aggression. Lagi siyang galit, lagi siyang irritable, lagi siyang naiinis, nagwawala siya kapag hindi niya nakukuha yung gusto niya. So yung ganyang profile ng bata, kapag ganun siya, ano nangyayari? Leads to the child being neglected or rejected. Siyempre, lahat ng bata sa eskwelahan, ayaw siyang kalaro, ayaw siyang kausap, kasi nga ganun yung ugali niya. At yung mga rejection na yon na na-experience ng bata na neglected man or rejected, ano nangyayari? Nagba-backfire. Lalo tuloy tumitindi yung poor social skill niya in the form of being aggressive. So, ang tawag dito in psychology, nagiging vicious cycle. Hindi maganda ang social skills, effect, rejected, neglected. Being rejected and neglected, lalong hindi nagiging maganda yung social skills. Kailangan yan maputol. Kailangan maputol ng vicious cycle. So, ang tanong ngayon is, going back to idea number 1, no? Ano yung paraan para mahinto yung vicious cycle? Para mag-improve naman yung peer status ng isang bata na rejected or neglected, according to the article, ang sagot dyan is kinakailangan ng emotional intelligence. Yan ang foundation of good social skills. Okay? So going back to the vicious cycle, saan ba nagmula ang lahat? Poor social skills. So ano ang solution dito para mahinto ang vicious cycle? Pagandahin ang social skills. At ano ang pinaka-foundation para gumanda ang social skills ng isang bata? Palakasin mo yung kanyang emotional intelligence. Now, there are many researches, many definitions of emotional intelligence. We have an entire lecture on that. But for the sake of this lecture, focus lang muna tayo sa general idea. Anong ibig sabihin ng EQ? This is your ability to constructively handle the emotions of yourself and other people. Na-handle mo ng maayos yung emotions na nararamdaman mo, pati na yung ibang tao. Take note, dapat dalawa. Hindi pwedeng magaling ka lang sa sarili mo or magaling ka lang sa ibang tao. EQ means both. You can handle positively the emotions of yourself. You can handle positively the emotions of other people. So yan ang solusyon, sabi ng article. Para mabawasan yung aggression ng mga bata na rejected or neglected at mahinto na yung vicious cycle na yan, pagandahin ang emotional intelligence ng mga bata. Yan ang foundation ng social skills. Kapag naging maganda yung 4 components mo of emotional intelligence, EQ, self-awareness, self-management, social awareness, relationship management, it will follow na yung mga mahalagang social skills madedevelop din. Andyan yung communication skills, as you can see, no? Conflict resolution, basic interaction, team building skills. Paano na-develop yung 4 na yan? Matik yan in Tagalog. Automatic. Kapag dinevelop mo yung EQ mo, sasama na rin yung development ng mga key social skills na yan. Kaya ang application dito is, napakahalaga talaga for parents na i-emotional coaching yung mga anak nila. That's one of the primary responsibilities of parents. Turuan ng mga anak nila kung paano mag-handle ng emotions in a positive way. Emotions ng sarili, emotions ng ibang tao. Turuan dapat yung mga bata paano mag-handle ng frustration, anger, irritability, assertiveness, sadness, responsibilidad yan ng guardian ng bata. Lalong-lalo na ng magulang. So kung magulang ka, kung parent ka, isa ito sa mga skill set na dapat meron ka as a parent. Magaling ka sa emotional coaching. Pero, para magawa mo yan, so yung sinabi ko kanina, application yun, no? Ano ang implication yan? Dapat, ang parents, para maging magaling na emotional coach, dapat, emotionally mature din siya in the first place. You get my point? Para magawa mo ng maayos ang emotional coaching as a parent, dapat ikaw mismo bilang tao, yung parent ng bata, emotionally mature. Now, hold on to that idea kasi i-connect natin yan sa teenage pregnancy. Based on studies in DevPsych, kapag ang magulang ng isang bata is a teenager na naka-experience ng teenage pregnancy, risk factor pala yan sa development ng bata. Ang tanong, bakit? Kasi madalas nire-report lang yan sa mga articles, no? Or sa textbooks, pero hindi masyado na ipapaliwanag. Bakit kapag ang magulang mo teenager, risk factor yan sa development mo in connection to emotional coaching? Kasi emotionally immature pa yung magulang ng bata. Kasi nga teenage mom eh. teenage dad. So yung bata, emotionally immature, kailangan niya ng emotional coaching. Sino ba dapat nagbibigay niyan? Yung magulang. Ang problema, yung magulang nga niya, emotionally immature din. Kasi nga teenager pa lang. Mas malakas pa yung limbic system ng brain niya compared to the frontal lobe. So emotionally immature si mommy, emotionally immature si anak, ano nangyayari? Pareho ngayon silang magiging emotionally immature. Ang mare-reinforce sa kanila is emotional immaturity. Kaya naalala ko dito yung sinabi ni Kristo, can a blind lead another blind? Of course not. Yung blind, para ma-lead mo siya ng maayos, maging maganda yung direction niya, ang leader niya dapat hindi blind. Which does not happen in this scenario. Emotionally immature si anak, emotionally immature si guardian, hindi nagiging emotionally mature yung bata. Which means poor EQ. Which in the language of DebPsych, risk factor sa development. Other than the Bible, syempre naalala ko rin dito si Vygotsky, yung zone of proximal development. Kaya hindi nagde-develop emotionally yung bata, wala siyang zone of proximal development. Kasi yung magulang na dapat nagli-lead sa kanya towards a better handle of EQ. In the first place, mababa rin yung EQ. So hindi nagkakaroon ng zone of proximal development. Kasi remember, ang sinasabi ng theory, para gumanda yung development natin, dapat nililid tayo ng isang tao na mas magaling sa atin. Hindi nga mas magaling yung magulang sa anak dito in this scenario Pareho silang mababa ang EQ. So how can a person with low EQ lead another person with low EQ? I-translate mo yun sa lengguwahe ni Kristo, how can a blind man lead another blind? Hindi pwede. Now you understand why teenage pregnancy is a risk factor for the development of the child. Kasi hindi siya nakaka-experience ng magandang emotional coaching coming from his or her parent or parents. Okay? Now, the next slide, isiksik ko lang din dito ang isa pang reason kung bakit hindi na-develop ang emotional intelligence. It's because of our culture today na mahal ang teachings ng self-love movement. Yung self-love movement, tinuturuan ng tao na ang priority sa buhay, sarili. Ang priority sa buhay, happiness for the self, self-care. Mahalin mo ang sarili mo, gawin mo yung mga bagay na magpapasaya sa'yo. Ang number one priority mo, yung sarili mo, you should be in a relationship with yourself. Self-love movement yan. I hope you see the danger kapag ang bata, yan ang na-internalize na value. Kapag tinuro mo sa bata na dapat niyang mahalin ng mahalin yung sarili niya, ang tendency niyan, mawawalan ng balance yung EQ. Now you are going to inflate the love for the self and downplay the love for other people. And, logically, hindi maganda yan. Alam natin yan. Ayaw natin sa mga tao na masyado nilang mahal yung mga sarili nila at wala silang pakialam sa ibang tao. Exactly what the self-love movement is shaping people to be, lalong-lalo na yung mga bata. Yun yung problema. Yan yung value na uso ngayon. Kaya maraming mga kabataan ngayon, yan yung value na ina-absorb. Mahal na mahal ang sarili, walang pakialam sa ibang tao. Kaya mas maganda pa rin yung sinasabi ng Biblia, in connection to emotional intelligence, dapat balance. When Jesus said, love your neighbor as yourself, binabalansin niya yung foundations of EQ. Hindi lang yung sarili mo yung mahal mo, dapat mahal mo rin yung ibang tao. Kung paano mo mahalin ang sarili mo, ganun din ang pagmamahal mo dapat sa ibang tao. Now, it balances EQ. Kaya ang galing kahit wala pang literature on emotional intelligence during Jesus' time, yung sinabi niya about love, the right way to love, balances or hits the correct definition of emotional intelligence. Maliwanag. So again, ang isang lesson dito na pwede nating matutunan, risk factor sa isang bata kapag lumaki siyang ganito. Mahal ang sarili, wala siyang pakialam sa ibang tao. And vice versa, ano ang protective factor? Ano yung framework na kapag ito yung natutunan ng bata, maganda ang development niya, ito, balance dapat. Turuan mo yung bata na mahalin niya sarili niya. Again, hindi bawal magmahal ng sarili, pero hindi natin kakalimutan na mamahalin din natin yung ibang tao. Exactly what Jesus said. Okay, to summarize everything I've said so far, so ito na yung mapa natin towards a positive child development. Yung magulang, emotionally mature, kaya magaling siyang emotional coach sa bata. Dahil dyan, gumaganda ang EQ ng bata. Mahal niya yung sarili niya, pati yung ibang tao. Dahil maganda ang EQ niya, automatic na de-develop yung mga social skills niya. Papasok siya sa eskwelahan na maganda ang social skills niya, magbabago ngayon yung peer status niya. Dati rejected, dati neglected. Ngayon, ano mangyayari? Magiging popular na siya to average. Which, by the way, according to the literature, yan yung magandang development na, yan yung mga magagandang peer status na dapat ang bata nandyan para magkaroon ng good development. Popular or average. Okay? Paano ka nga magiging popular or average? Kapag maganda social skills ng bata. Paano magiging maganda yung social skills ng bata? Kapag maganda ang EQ. Paano ba ini-enhance yung EQ? Kasi tinuturuan ng maayos ng magulang via emotional coaching. So, I hope you got the story, no? Number 2, emotional and social skills are malleable. Ibig sabihin, sa Tagalog, pwede pang mabago, kayang-kayang ituro. So, isingit ulit natin dito in DevPsych yung idea ng nature and nurture. When it comes to emotions, pareho namang may role ang nature at nurture. Remember in my previous lectures in DevPsych, no, the way we handle our emotions, ang tawag dyan, temperament, from the term temper. Kung mainitin ba yung ulo mo, or kung chill ka lang na tao, highly dependent yan sa programming ng nervous system mo, which you genetically inherited from your parents. So, wala kang control doon. Pero hindi ibig sabihin nun, kapag pinanganak kang mainitin ng ulo, pinanganak kang irritable, pinanganak kang mabilis ma-feel bad, mamamatay kang ganon. Kasi merong role ang nurture, pwede pa niyang i-improve yung genetically na na-inherit mo. And there are studies that show, no, that nurture, meron siyang slight more power than nature in influencing our psychological profile, lalong-lalo na the way we handle our emotions and relationships with other people. Now, ang tanong, in childhood, ano ang social experience na malakas makapag-reshape ng temper ng bata? Yan papasok yung kahalagahan ng paglalaro. The psychology of play. Ang dami-daming mga literature and evidences that show na kapag ang bata, marami siyang experiences ng pakikipaglaro with other kids, body to body, face to face, maraming magagandang development ang nangyayari. To summarize those different studies, ito yung diagram that we can form. The more you let the child play, mas natututo siya ng mga social emotional skills. So hindi lang pala emotional coaching coming from parents ang source ng pagtuto ng bata sa EQ. Natututo din ang bata ng EQ kapag nakikipaglaro siya sa ibang mga bata na nagpapaganda ng kanyang overall development. Kaya ang isang magandang implication dito, lalong-lalo na yung mga parents na nakikinig ngayon, no, let's not underestimate the importance of play. Madalas kasi ang mga parents, minamaliit yung role ng play sa development ng bata. Ang tingin sa play, magpapawis lang, magiging mabaho ka lang, marurumihan ka lang, sayang lang sa oras yan, masusugatan ka lang dyan. Hindi dapat ganon. Taasan natin ang pananaw natin on children's need for play. So the next time na may isang bata na nakikipaglaro sa'yo or nagpapaalam na gusto niyang makipaglaro sa ibang mga bata, we need to take this seriously. Isipin natin yung positive psychological effects na mararanasan ng bata kapag hinayaan natin silang makipaglaro sa iba pang mga bata. Gusto ko tong quotable quote ni Himes. James Himes, one of the leading child experts. Basahin nyo na lang on your own, no? Pero ang bottom line, ang sinasabi niya dito, maraming psychological developments ang nangyayari if you let a child play with other kids. And let me emphasize, yung play na sinasabi dito, face-to-face, body-to-body. Hindi counted yung virtual. And why am I saying that? Kasi in today's society, pasok ka sa childhood ng maraming mga bata ngayon, unti-unti na nag-fade yung activity nila where they physically play different games with other kids, face-to-face. Bakit? Nandun na sa gadget. Ang kalaro na lang nila yung zombie. Ang kalaro na lang nila yung kung sino-sino mga virtual characters doon. Kaya nga marami nagko-compare, no? Marami nagsasabi na baka kaya sobrang iba ng ugali yung mga bata ngayon kumpara sa mga bata in previous years. Specifically 90s kids. Bakit sobrang iba ng ugali? Ang makakapagpaliwanag niyan yung exposure nila sa physical play. Ang mga bata kasi ngayon sobrang konti ng physical play. Ang mga bata during the 90s, during the 80s, before internet, before technology, before social media, sobrang dami nilang physical experiences with other kids. Kaya ang hypothesis is, kaya siguro yung mga bata na lumaki sa panahon na to, maraming physical plays, mas emotionally mature. Emotionally and socially mature. Compared to kids today na kulang sa physical play. Siguro doon nanggagaling yung pagkakaiba ng ugali nila. Kung bakit mas maganda ang social emotional skills ng mga older generations compared to generations today. Tapos double black eye pa yan. Puro na nga sila virtual, kulang na nga sila sa physical play, nangyari pa yung pandemic. And as we know, ang Pilipinas record holder yan sa pinakamahabang lockdown in the pandemic. And during the lockdown, sino ba yung mga tao na bawal lumabas other than matatanda? Syempre yung mga bata. And what does that say? Anong implication nun? During those times na bawal silang lumabas, sobrang konti ng exposure nila sa physical plays like this. Which is very crucial in their psychological development according to James Himes. Ito yung mga bagay na nawala sa mga bata na nabuhay during the pandemic. During those times na bawal silang lumabas ng bahay. Kaya i-connect mo yan, no? Posible kaya na yung mga bata na yon na kinulang sa play. Kasi puro gadget, kasi puro tayo lockdown, now we are seeing the effects of this. Yan ba yung reason kung bakit maraming mga kabataan ngayon hindi maganda ang social emotional skills? And now we are seeing that the effects, the consequences of that through increasing numbers of student suicides. And take note yung mga nire-report dito ng DepEd, ito yung mga bata na ang age group nila pasok pa rin sa definition ng childhood. I can't help to think na baka connected nga yan sa mga sinabi ko dito in the previous slides. Number 3, dito kayo magugulat sa article. Although ang article, sinasabi niya na ang aggression nga is an indication of poor social skills, kaya dapat mabago yan via emotional coaching, merong part sa article na nagsasabi that certain forms of aggression is not always bad. Let me quote an excerpt from the article. Sabi, groups with moderate or form-specific aggression tended to have more modest relational outcomes at the outset that were maintained or improved over time. Let me continue. Contrary to expectations, children with the lowest levels of aggression did not consistently appear to be the most socially well-adjusted, and even showed some signs that their relational development worsened over time. So, hindi pala porket wala kang aggression sa katawan, okay na yung development mo. In fact, sabi nga dito, nakakasama pa yan for some kids. Yung hindi ka lumalaban, wala kang konting level of aggression, and the hypothesis is maybe because for these children, dahil sobrang baba ng aggression nila, mga pushover sila. Sila yung mga madalas na binubuli. Sila yung mga madalas na inaapi. Hihiraman ng ballpen, hindi na isusole. Hindi sila pipiyok kasi nga low aggression sila. Habang naglalaro sila, kukunan sila ng laruan, hindi sila pipiyok. Bakit? Low kasi yung level ng aggression nila. So sila ngayon nagiging biktima ng bullying. Yun yung explanation dito. Kaya hindi rin maganda na sobrang wala kang aggression sa katawan. Now, let me continue. These children had significant declines in peer group acceptance and friendships over time, perhaps an indication that children who abstained from being aggressive were not able to benefit from some of its more functional purposes. Bottom line, dapat meron kang konting level of aggression para maging maganda ang development mo according to the article. Hindi ka dapat pumupunta sa extremes. Hindi pwedeng sobrang aggressive ka kasi magiging peer o magiging rejected or neglected child ka. Hindi rin naman pwedeng sobrang wala kang aggression, magiging biktima ka naman ng bullying. Dapat nandoon ka sa gitna. But let me just warn the listeners out there, lalong-lalo na yung mga nag-aaral ng psychology, you have to remember that this study is done within American culture using American participants. At sa psikolohiyang Pilipino, sana tinuro sa inyo to, no, na ang conclusion ng isang pag-aaral coming from the West, hindi automatic na dapat ina-apply sa pang-araw-araw na buhay ng mga tao na nasa non-Western societies tulad ng Pilipinas. Kasi maraming mga socio-cultural differences. In research language, maraming mga moderating variables na pwedeng reason kung bakit itong mga Western studies na ito hindi mag-a-apply sa atin. And I think we can see that working in this article. Remember, ano sinasabi ng journal article? Dapat may konting level of aggression ka para maganda ang development mo. In the psikolohiyang Filipino perspective, i-translate mo yan, not necessarily. Kasi ibang-iba yung American culture sa Filipino culture, and that includes emotionality. Iba yung pag-handle ng emotion sa Amerika sa pag-handle ng emotion sa Pilipinas. Diba? That's one of the teachings that we share sa psikolohiyang Pilipino. Kaya ang issue dito, ang application dito is, when we talk about enhancing children's emotional intelligence, kung gagawa tayo ng programa na pangpaganda ng emotional intelligence, dapat natin i-take into consideration yung kultura kung saan natin i-apply yung EQ program. This is a good book to read by Mesquita. Ang title, Between Us, How Culture Create Emotions. In this book, pinapakita how emotions are experienced and expressed differently in different cultures. Iba ang emotional life ng mga Amerikano sa emotional life ng mga Chinese. Sa emotional life ng mga Pilipino, you get the point. So again, ang implication yan kapag gagawa tayo ng programa for EQ, kailangan, ang jumping board natin dyan to develop the program is the current culture of the participants. And in our context, syempre, Pilipino. Kaya, kapag gagawa tayo ng programa ng EQ in the Philippine context, we have to take into consideration certain uniquely Filipino ways of expressing emotions. Tandaan natin, sa Pilipinas, ang mga Pilipino matataas ang level ng hiya, utang na loob, pakikisama, tampo, etc. So, going back to that article, hindi natin pwedeng sabihin na applicable to sa kultura nating mga Pilipino. Hindi pwedeng sabihin mo na, dapat meron tayong konting aggression sa mga relationships natin with others para maging maganda yung child development kasi nga, ibang-iba tayo sa Western culture. Kung mukhang kung titignan mo yung mga general values ng collectivistic society tulad ng Pilipinas, hindi tutugma yung aggression. Basahin nyo na lang on your own. Tignan nyo yung individualism. Malamang, aggression is a good thing here. But not necessarily for collectivism. So, hindi mo pwedeng turuan yung mga batang Pilipino, na dapat meron silang aggression para maging maganda yung development nila in the Philippine setting. Kasi yung aggression, hindi siya tugma sa mga binavalue ng isang collective society tulad ng Pilipinas. Kaya ulitin ko, ang implication dito is lahat ng intervention program that enhances EQ, dapat i-consider muna natin kung ano yung how do we experience and how do we express emotions in that particular culture. Dapat culturally appropriate yung EQ intervention programs. Kaya ang isa pang application dito, ito kasi implication. Ang application dito, in connection to this point is talagang napakahalaga na dapat pag-aaralan natin kung saan tayo nanggagaling. At yan ang purpose ng psikolohiyang Pilipino. Pinapakilala tayo sa unique psychological dynamics and processes na meron tayong mga Pilipino na ibang-iba sa ibang lahi. Okay? You should not, ang tawag doon, you should not separate the issue of emotions from the culture of people who are experiencing those emotions. Emotions are embedded within a person's current culture. Yan yung gusto kong i-share, no, in this point. So in closing, pati na rin summary, no, number 1, ano ang natutunan natin for today? We need to prioritize the development of children's EQ. Bakit? Kasi yung EQ will affect their social skills, which will affect their peer status, at yung peer status nila will affect their quality of development. Gusto natin ang peer status ng mga kabataan would be popular and average. Ayaw natin silang maging rejected or neglected. At ang susi dyan, para hindi sila maging rejected or neglected, pagandahin natin yung social skills nila via teaching them emotional intelligence. And number 2, kinakailangan, if we want children to have good emotional development, dapat consistent. Dapat consistent yung pagtuturo ng EQ skills across different systems where children are in. That includes family, peers, schools, media, community. Dapat iisa sila ng goal. Iisa sila ng tinuturo na emotional skills sa mga bata. Yan ang problema natin ngayon. And as a developmental psychologist, diyan ako na-frustrate. Kasi sisimulan ng family, sisimulan ng church, tutulungan ng schools. Yung tatlong yon, magtutulong-tulungan sila para maging maayos yung emotional intelligence ng bata. Babalansehin yung pagmamahal sa sarili at pagmamahal sa ibang tao. Pero ang malungkot dyan, paglabas nila ng school, paglabas nila ng pamilya, paglabas nila ng simbahan, merong social world dominated by the media, dominated by the general community. Now, ang social media is a very powerful social force. At ang frustration ko dyan, yung social media, nagtuturo ng mga principles about EQ na kabaliktaran ng tamang pagtuturo ng EQ na nanggaling sa pamilya. Let me be more specific, no? In the Bible, ito yung mga bagay na hindi magandang nai-internalize ng tao, especially mga bata. 'Di ba? Jesus enumerated the different toxic things that we can internalize from our environment. Ano raw yung mga bagay na nasa loob ng tao na nakaka-toxic sa psychological life natin? Nandyan, evil thoughts, sexual immorality, theft, murder, adultery, coveting, wickedness, deceit, sensuality, envy, slander, pride, foolishness. Bakit ang mga tao meron yan? Number 1, because we have a sinful nature. We are in a fallen nature because of sin. But number 2, and I want to emphasize more on this, ito kasi, lalong lumalakas, lalong namamagnify, lalong nai-intensify because of outside influences. Specifically, social media. Ang social media, papaniwalain ang mga bata na itong mga to normal, na itong mga to right nilang ma-feel, na itong mga to okay na meron kanyan. Masaya ang buhay the more meron kanyan. In general, that's what social media is teaching children. Isama na rin natin yung self-love movement. Ganyan ang tinuturo ng self-love movement. It's your right. If these things make you feel happy, your priority is you, then walang problema na gawin mo lahat yan. Kasi ito naman yung mga bagay na nagpapasaya sa'yo. You deserve to be happy. Yan. So nagko-combine yan. Social media plus self-love movement, nire-reinforce nila itong mga toxic psychological traits within human beings, lalong-lalo na yung mga bata. And you can only imagine what happens to those children na ito yung nai-internalize. Siyempre, dahil lumalakas yung intensity ng mga yan within them, natatranslate yan, lumalabas yan sa behaviors nila. And now we hear news like this. Mga kabataan nagpapatayan, mga kabataan kaaga-aga nagbubuntis. Parami ng parami yung mga ganyang cases. Why? What makes these children do these things? Because these things are being normalized by the social media, by the self-love movement. That's why if there's one thing that we need to improve in our society para mas maging maayos yung child development is, kailangan magkaroon tayo ng censorship when it comes to these things. Yan ang problema sa Pilipinas sa tingin ko masyado tayong maluwag sa censorship. Hindi natin sinasala yung mga bagay-bagay sa environment natin kung nakakaganda pa ba sa mental health ng mga tao. Kaya marami mga tao ngayon, especially children, hindi magaganda ang mental health because The wrong things are being intensified by the powerful forces of the social media, including the self-love movement. At sana, no, yung mga nakikinig dyan na ito yung ginagawa ninyo everyday. Gumagawa kayo ng mga contents. Nagmo-model kayo ng mga behaviors that intensify these things. And in the process, marami mga bata ang nag-i-struggle sa development nila, sana makonsyensya naman. At may sinabi si Kristo tungkol sa mga ganyang tao. Doing things, creating contents, teaching children to be like this. Anong sinabi ni Kristo about that? If anyone causes one of these little ones, he was talking about children, those who believe in me, to stumble, it would be better for them if a large millstone were hung around their neck and they were thrown into the sea. Matindi. Jesus loves children so much because, He knows, God knows how important social experiences are in the life of a child. It can make or break the child. Kaya dapat yung mga bata, hindi natin ini-stumble. Unfortunately, in our society, yan ang norm. We make children stumble by intensifying all the wrong things within the psychological system. Kaya sana magbago yan. Alright? So that ends my lecture about peers and relationships. Sana marami kayong natutunan. Again, I highly recommend i-download nyo to, basahin ninyo on your own, and connect this article to the lesson na pinag-usapan natin for today. Sir Howard here, hanggang sa susunod na lecture. God bless everyone.